If there's content that's borderline, that's content that we basically will not.
There is no second best. There is no second best crypto asset.
I respect you, and I have a great deal of appreciation to you, JF.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to JFGT Tonight. 2 hours 30 later, I have fixed the internet issue. This seems to be fixed forever. We've been dealing with this for about a year because last winter there were problems. I thought, well, this is the code. And when I play with the optics wire, it kind of seems to fix it. And then we were okay for many months, and it started happening again a week ago approximately. And I was like, this is the cold again. It's whenever there's cold, it bugs my internet. It must be ISP related. It must be in my fiber optics connection. Now, tonight I tried to do the show at 7 p.m. Eastern time, got disconnected 6 minutes in. Now I found the issue. It is so I had a technician scheduled to come and inspect and investigate this because I couldn't I was playing with wires. Sometimes it was kind of fixing it, kind of not. So I started speaking with Grok, and I'm like, let's try to fix this issue before the technician comes Monday. I canceled the shows. I only have this to concentrate on. I must fix my internet. I probably can do better than the technician himself. And so I start talking with Grok, and the setup that I have is I have a box that is optics, and then it transfers to an Ethernet connection. The Ethernet connection connects to a router. So I'm like, what do we do with this, Grok? This is the symptoms. Every 10 minutes, I lose the internet for 30 seconds, and then it comes back. And Grok starts listing all the possibilities, and he's like, we need more info. So let's try looking at the MikroTik router log to see what's happening. I start looking at the log. So I see on the interface, everything keeps working. But the Ether1 connection, so the connection to the optics box. So Grok concludes this must be upstream. Now, upstream might mean the cable between the two boxes, or it might be the fiber optics, or it might be your ISP that has a renewal lease of your IP. We need to test more. So now I start looking at the logs and the lights of the optics box. And it's like during these bugs, the lights are okay. The box is still in connection with my ISP. And I report this to Grok, and Grok says, you know what? Now look deeper into the log, and I find in the log it says Ether1 deleased, disconnected, IP lost. So it was this. The Ethernet cable between the router and the optics cable, the box. The Ethernet cable, quite simply, it's not physically damaged, but maybe it's curved a little bit in a way that if you add cold and there's a storm outside, one of the wire may be just disconnected just slightly, such that the internet goes out every 10 minutes. The Ethernet cable between the router and the optics box was just momentarily for a second not working, but that was causing a IP renew lease system that was taking 30 seconds for the whole system to fix itself. So that is it. I think that I don't think we'll get disconnected. I think given that the logs were so clear about this, the box was working, the router was working. it had to be this wire. It had to be this wire. Unbelievable, because it's so long to find this stuff, because you're like, well, if it's the ISP, I have no control over this. I can't go on the street and inspect the fiber optics. But it turns out, with the brilliance of Grok, it turns out I was able to find it. Good news tonight, we have this Ethernet fix now. I have a new audio digital acquisition interface. I still have the whole same audio processing on my voice, but ultimately it's entering the computer through a higher quality Scarlett 2i2 4th generation. I used to have the Scarlett of the 1st generation when I started as a streamer, and they were cheap. They were cheap boxes. They were doing bad sound in my view. That's why I had went for Behringer X1222, but the Behringer X1222 that I had was starting to age. The amplifiers in it were they were aging, and they were starting to be grumpy. This one seems extremely stable. I think you should be getting extremely good voice, just at the right level always. I believe that we are now equipped to have a show that works. And today, before we talk about our main subject, I want to talk about the death of Renegood, because it's a problem. These extremists, it's a problem. There is pockets of extremism developing in the US. These people are radical. They hate everyone. They hate the system. They think that they're the screw, the wrench that's thrown into the gears to fuck up the system. That is how Renegood saw herself. It's not random what happened. She didn't just get killed by an overreaching ICE agent. She knew what she was doing. She was doing it out of hatred and criminal intent. And she knew that she was threatening their life. She wanted to do it. She wanted to block the application of the federal law in her place of living. She wasn't even from this area. She had moved recently with her lesbian wife. We'll talk about all this. But before today, for celebrating my loss of 50 pounds in 4 months, I have achieved the 50-pound mark. I have enjoyed the double cheesy melt of McDonald's, a limited time offer, a double patty burger with crisps, slices of cheese between the two on the two patties, caramelized melted onions, a split top bun at the middle with a line at the middle, pickles, and liquidy cheesy sauce on top of the cheese. So very interesting. It's not a high cuisine burger. It's not even as good as the Big Mac in my view, objectively. But this just full cheese aspect, like just squirted cheese, at least to me, who's been starving for the last 4 months, that was very enjoyable. Jason Jones says, caramelized onions, that is hot stuff. By the way, if you'd like to support the show, use the dollar button under the regular chat, or use the link to the streamlabs.com tip page on the video. Your super chats will be read live, and they are needed to support this show. All right, so let's talk first about the events. I'm not going to show the video just out of risk of censorship, but I will describe the situation. So Renegood was an activist. Her mom says she wasn't part of any PED protesters. What do you know about this? What do you know about the everyday ongoings of your daughter, your lesbian daughter? You don't know. You have no clue. So whether she was paid by Soros, we don't know. What we know for sure. She was part of some organized plan to harass, block, and literally capture and capture in traffic the ICE agents to keep them from applying federal law in Minneapolis. So Renegood is an author who is now lesbian, who has reproduced with a man. If I understand correctly, they originally come from, or at some point they were in Portland. She is an artist and a poet. Her poet name is Renee McLean. So that was her name. She eventually changed to Renegood. I don't know if it's a legal change. I don't know if it's related to her transition to lesbianism. But Renegood was a poet making these extremely bizarre poems that won prizes and awards among the leftist poet elite. On learning, this is one of her poems. On learning to dissect fetal pigs. I've donated Bibles to thrift stores, mashed them in plastic trash bags with an acidic Himalayan salt lamp. The post-baptism Bibles, the ones plucked from street corners from the meaty hands of zealots, the dumbed-down, easy-to-read, parasitic kind. So a deeply anti-Christian person, bragging in her poem about literally stealing, going to these people who yell, they yell the words of the Bible on the street, stealing, her poem describes stealing it from them, treating them with acidic Himalayan salt lamp, which is absolute witchery of the worst kind, and donating them to thrift stores, saying that they're kind of parasitic, they're the dumbed down version of the Bible for the dumb bigot Christians. So we already see who we're dealing with here. Ty Rogerson says she puts the slam in slam poetry. I mean, who consumes this crap? Like, okay, you're giving her an award, but are people actually reading this shit? Anyways, on learning to dissect fetal pigs, references to abortion, to... I know this kind of person. I had my dick in some of them. So they are extremely revolted people who believe that they are Neo. They are the bug in the Matrix. They will mess up the system. They will mess with the application of the law. They will mess with Christianity. They are here to stop the ongoing flow of hatred of the world. They are here to be the wrench thrown in the mechanic that makes it blow up. These people are troublemakers, and they will be troublemakers for all their lives. That's all they care about. They believe that's honorable. This is who Renegood was. You currently have a massive misinformation campaign going on by the leftists, trying to present her. She was just a mother. Well, she was a mother who got inseminated by a man. The man hasn't been fathering the child because he died. We don't know the exact reason of death. Did he commit suicide? What happened? What happened with this army guy that died at 36 years old, by the way? What happened? Now, they have a 6-year-old. She runs away with the 6 years old from wherever she was living and educates the 6-year-old alongside a lesbian, or maybe she has more, because they say they have 3 children total. I don't know how many are hers, how many are the others, but forms a lesbian couple to raise these children, moving from Portland to Minnesota, to what, Minneapolis, Minnesota, or at least in the surroundings. So basically moving from one left of the worst leftist, terroristic, anti-federal, far left communist area of the US to another. I know everything about you when I know you thought you had to move from Portland to Minneapolis. I know everything about you, or Minnesota in general. I know that you are dependent on a leftist environment. You are a poet. I mean, you're not going to get these awards writing poems in Utah. All right. So let's comment about the event. So this is the background. This is what prepares this whole thing. So this morning, this person, Renegood, starts apparently, I think that she was motivating herself alongside her lesbian wife. So I believe that there was a form of reinforcement, because when you see those events happen, you see that the wife is already recording in video. So what does this tell me? They were pursuing a form of heroism. They wanted to get these things on the record. They didn't know that she was going to get killed. They were filming minutes before. So somehow there is admiration in this couple to make bravado against the federal government. And this is why this is all a big problem. We cannot let develop cells of terrorism in the US. And it's been developing for decades now. They attack the non-terrorist right-wingers. When the left is in power, they go after you for being against the vaccine, for wanting to ask questions to your board of education about what your children are learning. But we never go after the leftist terrorists. So what do we have? Well, at the end, these milieus, these environments develop where there is reinforcement of absolute hatred of America. And they consider that they are breakaway republics, basically local breakaway republics where federal law doesn't apply, which is why they're so triggered when the agents of Trump come to do something, because they want to be a safe harbor for fraud, corruption, communism, and extreme ideologies. We cannot let this happen, and we should take action not just about the illegal immigrant problem. Today was a matter of ICE, but we should crack down on this extremism, this belief that they can form breakaway republics the way they tried to build the Chaz, the autonomous zone. That's pretty much what's been happening today, and I don't hear a lot of parallels being done. But what happened today is like the Chaz that had happened in Oregon. And it's not random that it happens from a couple of lesbians who have been moving from the area where there used to be a Chaz into this area today. So today, she started harassing the ICE agents, pursuing them around. Oh, yeah, that was in Seattle, the Chaz? Seattle, okay. Today, they started harassing agents all day, trying to block their way, yelling at them, being aggressive toward them. And they were filming each other doing this. I don't know where the children are during this time. Maybe they are at school. So these women, they drop their children at school to go engage in basically frontline war against law enforcement. This tells you a lot about who these women are. It's like, if you have that much time to be a communist revolutionary, why don't you spend that time homeschooling your children? Well, that wouldn't cross their mind. It wouldn't cross their mind. because they want their children to be, because ultimately the school system is at the service of their mentality. So that their children are well brainwashed by the communists of the public school rather than by their own communism. So that gives them a lot of extra time during the day. The wife, after seeing her own wife be killed, have her face exploded by 3 bullets, was screaming, "She's my wife. I have a 6-year-old." Well, why aren't you with your 6-year-old? Why are you fighting a frontline war with armed men to stop them from doing their legitimate, law-abiding, law application? And this is where, yeah, it's an insurrection. Yes, it's terrorism. Yes, it is criminal. Renegood was criminal before she started trying to roll over that police. Renegood was criminal the whole day because she was practicing obstruction of federal agents in their official duty. She was already a criminal hours before this video even began because she tried to stop them all day. And eventually she became the lead of a mob of leftists. She became the lead and the first car willing to show up in front and literally capture the ICE agents that were just trying to advance through the street to get to another place to continue their immigration enforcement operation. So they were there to kick out illegal migrants and capture them. And she was putting her cars right in the middle. And because these cities of leftists are what they are, there were other people with her. Now, this to me looks like an organized protest. This to me looks like a funded, community organized, with emails, with announcements in advance, with money. This looks to me like this. When you have 4 different cell phones that happen to film a whole crowd, all ideologically opposed to ICE, happen to be there and happen to be all in solidarity to block the ICE agents, that seems to me like funded insurrection. But if it's not funded, it's certainly organized insurrection. These people, they know each other. They knew they had to be there. So she becomes the kind of local, the temporary lead for this group, or perhaps she was more of a lead generally. But in any case, at that moment, she becomes a lead because her car is the one on the front, forcing all of the agents to not be able to advance anymore. I've said my part on this before. I consider that protesters who block exits are kidnappers, and I believe they should be prosecuted for kidnapping. Yes, you can kidnap someone on the streets. No, you don't have to. You don't have to wrap their mouth with a bandage or whatever. You can kidnap someone by blocking exits. And you can kidnap someone in a public space by not giving them the exits that they deserve. And we're not going to solve this solution. We're not going to resolve, the situation with clavicular, the same. If someone comes and puts himself in front of your car, now it's kind of an inverted situation here, but the same principle is at play. If an unsolicited person disables the use of your car for no legitimate reason, not a policeman trying to arrest you, not a policeman trying to stabilize a situation, but just to harass you, he's kidnapping you. He's making the car moves impossible. Now, the leftists will tell you that, well, therefore, JF, the ICE agents were trying to kidnap her. But as I've said before, the ICE agents they have to apply the law. That's their job. And in doing so, they are entitled to a certain degree of powers of detention, arrest, and powers of prosecution. If she had, as she had been slowing down their work, she was committing a crime already, and she would be subject to a capture. She would be subject to a legitimate intervention that seeks to either hand her interference or to capture her and to prosecute her for impeding on a federal process. Crockpot Broccoli says it's organized and they have an intelligence and espionage wing of their movement. Who told them where ICE was going to be? A spy. Absolutely. Very organized, very tinted by the Soros types of interests, destabilization of society, resistance of localities. The whole strategy of Soros was to undermine America by going local. You know, what if we control the district attorney in this area? Well, then you have a shit area that develops with lots of criminals, and yeah, you can squeeze yourself into the power that way. You can acquire power in a locality, eventually interact with the local gangsters and communist revolutionaries, and make deals with them so that they can change society from the bottom up, from their perspective. But what they end up doing always is they ruin their own place of living. These places have become shit for a reason. So Renegood, this poet that we described now for 20 minutes, almost 30 minutes, she was there and she was blocking massively the ICE agents. The ICE agents, after warning her all day to stop and demanding that she stop, at this point they are trapped. And there is, just think about it, because we have these leftists asking us to kind of discard all of these realities. But if I'm an ICE agent in the middle of a street where a group of communist revolutionaries are headed toward me, encircling us, my possibilities of movements are being blocked by a car, I'm already fearing for my life. I mean, those are Antifa trained agents. They are visibly coordinated. They are outnumbering the ICE agents. And, even if they weren't, they still have a job to do, and this job is impossible in this context. The mob encirclement of these people is a first factor that to me justifies a belief that, yeah, we are in a hot situation here, a situation in which I could die. How can I manage 50 people yelling at me? How can I manage whether one of them has a gun or not? How can I manage 360-degree view of all of the risks that are inherent to the fact that I'm stuck with revolutionaries who are insurrectionists, they're terrorists, they don't respect the law, and I'm here to apply the law, and they want to stop me. So they were absolutely justified. In my view, at this point, it becomes a military tactical issue. Now, they were very reasonable. They tried intervening on the leader. The leader was Renegood, and she had her main car that was blocking. It so happens that in the car she was killed, the glove compartment was filled with children's toy. But it's like, yeah, if you want to be treated as a naive, simple mother, just don't engage in insurrection against federal agents. Once you enter that domain of intimidation, mob surrounding, kidnapping, as far as I'm concerned, you're a criminal and a danger. Doesn't matter that you have a child. So they decide to intervene on her, and what it would appear they were trying to do is to get her out of the car and to arrest her in some form so that they can displace, to at least detain her temporarily, if not arrest her, to displace her car so that the operation can continue. And a masked man approaches her, tries to stop her from using her car, tries to open the door, isn't successful. He's trying to tell her to stop driving, basically to stop the car. At this point, she's spinning on ice and she's going backward. And so the movements of the car at this point are not super dangerous. But following the failure of this agent, there's another agent that places himself in front of the car, straight up in front of the car, on the driver's side. And he's kind of trying to, it would appear, he's trying to stop her out so that she doesn't go into an escape. They want to capture her, basically. And they don't want her to move out of there, it would appear. And, of course, the agent, this is what the leftist will tell you. The agent placed himself in front of the car, and he could have been elsewhere. That's what the leftists will tell you. Fair enough. He could have been elsewhere. And the leftists are already documenting that in certain police departments, they're training the agents, don't put yourself in front of the car, because it creates these escalations. But that doesn't mean that the ICE agents have received that training. So perhaps he doesn't know. Or perhaps he knows and he's making a stance. Because yes, he could have been elsewhere, but does he have to be elsewhere? Does he have to be elsewhere than in the best place to stop this person from escaping or causing damage to ICE vehicles, or potentially just going down the street and recreating the same problem on the other side of the street? So he decided to place himself in front of the car. Personally, I think it should be totally allowed for police to do so when they are faced with someone. I'm not saying it was police, it was ICE, but in general, I think that the agents of the state who are trying to capture someone, I'm not asking them to put themselves in front of the car because that's a risk to your life. But if they want to, and if they feel like they should, I am for giving them that loose, because you don't know the problem down the line of letting someone who is a pissed off criminal revolutionary escape a situation like this. You don't know if she hits and kills a pedestrian somewhere down the line. You don't know how much damage she can create, or how it creates a unresolvable situation because she restarts doing it elsewhere. Crockpot Broccoli says Minnesota will certainly try to charge him. I doubt they will be successful, though he's a federal agent. Yeah, there will be complications. Ultimately, there is some kind of federal supremacy assumed. In theory, also, the federal agents must respect the laws of the state generally. Like, you can't be a federal agent and commit a murder in a state. But generally, there is kind of an assumption of federal jurisdiction, especially if you're doing your official function as a federal agent. So he was in front of the car, and she starts going forward with the accelerator while being totally aligned in a way that she would hit the ICE agent. But her tires spin in the ice. And that's where the ICE agent pulls his gun. And instead of stopping there, she tries a second time. And the second time, her tire don't spin in the ice. She advances. Now, the leftist will tell you she advances, but immediately she veers. So she's trying actually to get away from the agent. Doesn't matter. Her trajectory was enough in the direction of the agent that this in the context where, in all of the contexts that I listed, this is an aggressive move meant at intimidating, at threatening someone's life, and at playing rough with people with guns. That is what it is. Doesn't matter the exact angle of the wheels, by the way. The cop can't see the wheel. The cop is like this with a gun, and he's looking at her. All he sees is a car advancing, and he's hearing the engine, but he's not seeing the wheel. He's not saying, are the wheels oriented in a way that maybe she wouldn't hit me? No. The state of belief of the ICE agent at this moment is, she tried once, she spinned, I'm lucky. I've already pulled my gun, which is her warning. The engine is now roaring again, and she seems to be headed toward me. John Drake says, if cops can't stop cars, the government will use this as a pretext to place kill switches in cars, taking away our freedoms. Oh yeah, well, that's a whole other problem. So the agent shoots at this second acceleration moment. He seems to shoot her very high, maybe in the head, maybe in the chest for some of the shots. He shoots 2 times that I can say where he was still in front of the car and the car was headed in his general direction. And then a third time, more from the side, more from the side window, where you'll hear leftists say she wasn't a threat then because she had already passed. And on that I say, we must absolutely allow to agents who are in a situation of self-defense a reaction time of several seconds. It's like, it's not like the agents sit for 15 minutes and think, I'm going to go shoot her again. That might be outside of self-defense. But the second, the 2 second, the 3 seconds period that follow an act of self-defense, the human brain doesn't have time to update everything. That, okay, now I'm safe. Now I'm safe because the car is 1 millimeter in that direction and would only shave my legs but not exactly hit me. We have to allow a large window for this decision-making, especially in an extremely nervous situation. We have to allow broad capacity for the agent to say, yeah, I shot a third time because at this point I was still not sure that I was safe. And that's it. That's what happened. So our wife, who was filming, starts running toward the car. The car drove away because after she was killed, apparently her body was still pressing through her feet onto the accelerator. So she accelerated very far from the site of the shooting and eventually crashed into a pole and another car. And her wife ran toward her, complaining about what had happened. And you know, these complaints, these emotional complaints, it's like, you created this situation by treating your wife as a hero, by elevating her, by trying to make her a kind of social media leftist hero of resistance. You have absolutely contributed to her death here because you brainwashed her, you've radicalized each other to the point where you were filming her as she was making those acts of resistance. This tells me that it is a lot your fault, the wife. It is a lot of your fault what happened. The fact that you two have developed these anti-government ideas together has resulted in the death of your wife. A lot of people are complaining, well, now we have a child of 6 years old that doesn't have a father and neither a mother. I would say that in a case like this, with a visibly distraught brain of a communist revolutionary insurrectionist, I think the child might be better without her. I think the child might be better without this poet-lesbian relationship on top of him. I think that he may have been radicalized and abused mentally. Because when you have these people who think of themselves as the wrench and the mechanic, they don't just want to break the institutions and the government. They want to break the next generation too. And I'm pretty sure you'll find mental abuse in her behavior if you could see her every day with her child. I'm pretty sure that this child was headed toward guilting for being a male, maybe even guilted for being white, maybe guilted if he was headed toward heterosexuality. That is the reality in these couples. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen it. I know these women. I've inseminated some of them. They are wrecks of everything. And instead of caring for a child, if she was on the streets making these fights to basically keep her city Somalian, that's basically, in short, that's what she wanted to do. Keep the illegal migrants in her city. Offering a safe harbor to fraud, criminality, and lies to the American government. I don't think that's a good mother. I don't think that's any close to a good mother. I think she would qualify in the low 10 out of 100. In the low 10s. That's what I have to say about this. We cannot allow the state of insurrection to be held in localities of the US because these places, they become packages of problems. From election fraud to radical beliefs about COVID and vaccines, all of the shit of the left comes from these concentrated shitholes in which there's never a federal government that just goes in and cracks down on this shit. And we should absolutely be behind Trump on this question and his support of the agents because his government went strong. We had a press conference. We had Kristi Noem come out indicating that she had been harassing the agents all day. We have Trump, who's made already an official statement that the police is in the hospital recovering from his injury from the hit with the car. Now, for those who have seen the video, that's funny. Because I don't think there was an injury. I don't think the police, the ICE agent was hit by the car. However, I know this kind of situation. I do think that he needs hospital treatment. Why? Because he must be in a state of shock. Because he had to kill someone to do his job properly and to potentially protect himself from dying. People are saying she didn't hit hard and she wasn't accelerating hard. She was accelerating enough that a little more of a push on the accelerator, and within 1 second, this cop's head, poof, was banging against the hood. And he was falling unconscious. He was becoming incapable of defending himself, and she could have rolled over him. So it was this second. He had to act in that second, or maybe he was rolled over by a car and dead. We do not have to demand from police that they be 100% sure that they're going to die. We must attribute to these agents a broad decision making into evaluating risks. Just think about the clavicular case. The guy was just having fun on the hood. 1 second later, he was below a wheel and he was getting his whole body crunched by a cyber truck. It's a matter of 1 second. And it's easy to say, oh, well, you could have jumped out. Well, jumping out in 1 second, the acceleration could become more aggressive. It could have shortened the time window for action. Even if you try jumping, you need stability on your feet to even begin the jump. Maybe the hood hits your head. Maybe the bumper kicks your leg in a way that makes you unable to jump. Maybe your feet get caught under the tire and now you can't move, and now the minivan rolls over you. We can't say to agents you have to be 100% sure that you were dying. We have to respect the fact that there were enough risks in this situation that this was definitely a death threat. And by the way, no, you're not banned, Bruce Bug Trotter. I see your chat. Truth Bomb says Minnesota convicted Derek Chauvin with jury intimidation. Also, Anthony Trifletti, same week, for self-defense against a gangbanger after being rear-ended by and reaching for his waist. Oh, absolutely. Minnesota is an absolute shithole for how they treat agents, and you should be out of there. I hope that the federal agent has been taken out of there, because there are ways where you can resist injustice by being elsewhere, because the local authorities will have limited reach to demand your extradition and all. Absolutely. Minnesota is a shithole, as demonstrated by all of these cases. So in conclusion, what do I have to say more? I wanted to add one more point, but I don't remember it. Let me try to recollect. So, I mean, yeah, that's it. That's it. We cannot let this continue. And I totally agree with Trump. In fact, I believe we should cause these situations more often to an extent. We should test whether federal agents can go unimpeded to apply the law anywhere. You know how there's these Second Amendment audits where people will just carry a gun, not non-threateningly, just to test, is this place still respecting my Second Amendment right? And, you know, they will carry an AR-15 on the highway just walking, and they'll just test. Will I get arrested for something that's imminently defended by the Second Amendment? We should do federal law application audits. We should just try to apply the law in these no-go zones, basically, just to make sure that the communists haven't reached the Chaz point. Just to make sure that there are no Renegood ready to foment some revolution as you do it. We should just practice audits more often. And I like to think of this as a form of audit, what happened today. And it shows us that the situation in Minnesota is much graver than even just the recent fraud stuff I've revealed. It's a situation of a total far-left shithole of insurrectionists who actually have hatred. And that was the point I forgot to mention that I wanted to talk about. I know the personality. I know the personality of Renegood. I know her more than she knew herself, probably. I know who ends up writing this kind of poem. And let me tell you, when this woman pressed on the gas pedal, at that moment. It was motivated by hatred, a desire for violence, a desire to obstruct, a desire to stop these agents, a desire to be a wrench in the gears of the federal government. It was an unlawful, motivated push. She probably was seething with hatred in her face as she was headed toward that ICE agent. Don't let the leftists come and tell you, as they are. She attempted to do it once. We're lucky that the tire spinned. Because if the tire hadn't spinned, there would be no gun that the agent would have had, and then she tried again, and it was motivated by an insurrectionist intent. What we've seen today is... Okay, just for a test, are we still live and do you receive me? If you receive me, type machine in the chat. Type machine. That way it's an original word that I know you've heard my words. Machine! The machine is coming. Yes, I see machine. Okay, because I wanted to test, because buffering is not dramatic. Buffering happens. I wanted to know, do we have a fix? Because, yes, machine, everyone is receiving me. Therefore, my fix seems to have been stable, but we had buffering. But the buffering, that's probably another thing that we can look at. And maybe it's in my communication with YouTube or the connection, but it means that the problem that was totally cutting out the streams, that problem is solved. Much love, everyone, and don't forget to go support the show on the Patreon, the Subscribe Star, or send me some tips through Streamlabs if you appreciate my thoughts. Bye-bye.